Caring for geraniums indoors. How do you do that? How often should you water geraniums in winter? It's good to know that geraniums prefer to stay dry. They would much rather be dry than wet. They are more likely to die from being watered too often than from being forgotten for 2 months. Temperature also plays a role. If it's a cold winter and the room they're in is quite chilly, they go dormant. Think of it as sleeping. They don't maintain their leaves or produce flower buds and therefore need very little water. That's why I only water my geraniums once a month in winter. I place the plants, pot and all, in a container and add water. I let the plants sit in the water for hours. Sometimes I even forget them and only remove the container a day later. Usually all the water has been absorbed by then. How much light do geraniums need indoors? Right now in winter, the plants don't need much light. Especially when it's still chilly and they are dormant, they don't need a lot of light. I keep them in the attic near a window. There, they get enough light to overwinter just fine. Later, at the end of winter, when the plants wake up, I notice they want more light. You can tell because all the leaves start turning towards the sun and the leaves on the lower and back sides stretch their stems long and thin to reach more light. That's not a problem. I can simply remove those leaves and once it's 50+ degrees outside, they enjoy the warmth of the sun and I place them outdoors during the day. I do this a few weeks before planting them out and then everything turns out fine. Should you remove dead leaves and stems during winter? Yes, once a month I check all my pelargoniums and remove the dead leaves and any leaves that look unhealthy. These leaves tend to develop mold quickly, which can spread to the rest of the plant, so I remove them monthly to keep the plants healthy. How cold or warm may the room be where they overwinter? It's important that the plants don't freeze to death. Outdoors they can handle temperatures of around 6+ degrees fairly well, so as long as they stay above 10 degrees, overwintering will go fine. But the colder it is, combined with humidity, the more stems will rot. You can press such stems and see the rot dripping out. I keep them in the attic in an unheated room. During very cold days I see more dead stems, but that's not a big problem. At the moment the temperature is often between 16 and 18 degrees and I see 14 degrees at night. Should you remove flower buds in winter? Because producing flower buds and blooming costs energy, I remove them each time. Every month, when I care for the plants, I remove all flowers and buds to keep the energy in the plant for overwintering. Even later, in spring, when I prepare them from planting in the garden and start giving them plant food, I continue removing all flower buds. Only in the garden, from May and June onward, will I let them bloom. By then, the plant has shaped itself beautifully with all the energy it has saved, and it will bloom much fuller and more beautifully. Can you let geraniums bloom indoors? Yes, you'll be surprised how easily geraniums can bloom. As long as they have enough light, they will do their best to produce flower buds. Even cuttings with nothing more than a single trimmed stem will try hard to bloom. When should you prune geraniums? When they overwinter indoors? Once a month, when I care for the geraniums, pruning is part of the routine. First, I cut away all stems that have started to rot. If I can press them in easily, I prune them so they don't infect the rest of the plant. Then, I shorten the stems that grow too long. Instead of a few long stems, I prefer compact plants full of blooms, so I cut those long stems back. Can you take cuttings from overwintered geraniums? Yes, geraniums, the pelargonium varieties, are very easy to propagate. I usually take cuttings when I bring the plants indoors. Since I prune many stems to make overwintering easier, I use those pruned stems as cuttings. But during winter, when I cut back stems that grow too much, I can use those as cuttings as well. However, they will root better if they are in a warm place, not here in the chilly attic. Here they would only rot without forming roots. Why are my geraniums turning yellow or bare indoors? When I forgot my geraniums for a month and only water them in the second month, I see that their colors become less vibrant. They have been very dry and compensate by no longer maintaining the parts they don't need. They will first become bare because they don't necessarily need the leaves to survive the winter. If they remain dry or get too little light, they will also let their stems die back, but that doesn't mean the plant is dead. Did you know you can even overwinter geraniums in a box? So, months without water and light and they will still survive the winter. But they will look very dead. So if your overwintered geraniums only look bare or yellow and therefore much better than geraniums that just came out of a box, they are still doing perfectly fine. Even geraniums that overwintered in a box will later, when you prepare them to go outside, do their best to look beautiful again. When can geraniums go outside again? In April, I start keeping an eye on the outdoor temperature. These geraniums, which have overwintered for years, can handle a bit of cold outside. So when I think there may only be an occasional night frost, I start planting some of my geraniums outside from April 15th onward. Only the young, newly sown geraniums I will plant out later in May, when I know for sure there is no more chance of night frost. Sometimes it's already pleasantly warm outside in February. Then they go outside at the beginning of April. Want to know more? Watch my other geranium videos where I show the care step by step each month.